Welcome back to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. President William Samoei Ruto is actually a man under siege. He has been boxed into a corner. This is because there are several treaties that he signed with the West before he became the president of Kenya. I have always indicated on this channel that there are three people who helped William Ruto to ascend to power, either directly or indirectly. The Western nation led by their bigger brother, the United States of America, and the twin brother, UK, and a host of other European countries. That is the first group that catapulted William Ruto to State House. Number two is the gullible hustlers. The common man, the ordinary man, that William Ruto hoodwinked with a lot of fallacies and lies and voted for William Ruto, telling them that the cost of living was very high, courtesy of Raila Amolo Odinga and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. And the third group is the clergy, and mostly the Episcopal churches, these individual churches that have been established under one name or a family, just a couple owning a church. They have always been at the center of William Ruto's victory. William captured them during the campaigns. And I always say on this platform that we had portraits of President William Ruto and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua in the churches, directly over the pulpits. And they told Kenyans that William Ruto is God chosen, God sent. So these three people, these three groups of people played a very pivotal role in Ruto's ascending to State House. And of course, you all know the IEBC and the Supreme Court. The reason I'm saying that William Ruto is now in a dilemma, it is because before William Ruto ascended to power, he met several groups and he signed with them several agreements because he wanted their support. Even in Kenya today, you saw him signing agreements with the Women Charter, with the universities. That is why today, when they want to remove the subsidies on university fees and they want to increase the fees, there is looming battle, because students and lecturers anytime from now might go on strike. You saw him telling the women that he would give them 50% slot in the cabinet. So he did this because it was a campaign gimmick. The biggest trouble and the biggest challenge that he has are the treaties that he signed with the USA and Britain. Because you all understand that there was a time when William Ruto led a group of Kenya Kwanza team. Ababu Namwamba was there, Rigathi Gachagua was there, the Chief Minister Musalia Mudavadi was there, David Ndii, the Chief Economical Advisor, and the man who went to the USA to explain the bottom-up economic model was also there. And they explained themselves, and there are several things that they signed. This agreement that is signed is coming back to haunt President William Ruto, because most of them were only meant to help the USA, but they were not helping the ordinary mwananchi. So while signing an agreement with the West, he knew very well that whatever the West wanted was going contrary to what he was telling the hustlers. I want us to look at only three of them, and you will bear with me witness that today he's between a rock and a hard place. He doesn't know what to do because he has to obey what he penned to paper with the Western nation. But at the same time, he is trying to justify why he cannot implement all the campaign pledges to the Hustler Nation. Kindly support our channel, hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell. We also continue with our 50 bob challenge to help buy a camera for even better contents, and I'll really thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, number one is the GMO, the genetically modified organisms. For the 10 years that the former president Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta was in power, he placed the interest of Kenyans at heart, and the interest of the international community came second. And this is why the former president gave a ban on the GMO, because the USA had tried to untwist the former president to allow the importation of the GMO so that we can start consuming it, but he refused. He had banned it for the 10 years that he was in power. But William Ruto signed a deal with the international community, especially the USA, that immediately he ascends to power, he was going to allow us to start consuming the GMO. And this is the reason why immediately he took oath of office, he lifted that ban. Now, I'm saying that he's in a dilemma because he really gave his word to the USA that he was going to do everything to ensure that we start consuming GMO, because American farmers are producing GMO in numbers, and USA wanted a market in Kenya. You know, sometimes Kenyans have become a dumping site for several goods because our leaders do not want to negotiate well when they sit on a negotiating table. But then William Ruto really wanted to become the president, so he agreed to it. Now the problem is, when he tried, in fact I remember he instructed the trade minister Moses Kuria to try and force it on Kenyans, but Kenyans refused. You saw the Catholic Church coming up to speak against it. The Azimio leader Raila Amolo Odinga led a host of other leaders like Martha Karua and Kalonzo Musyoka, and they said this is not going to happen. And the farmers ganged up and said that we cannot import the GMO into the country, yet they have surplus in their stores. And you see, I want to believe that when William Ruto was signing this deal, these were some of the things that were discussed. I want to believe that he was asked, what are you going to do in case the farmers rise up and reject it? And I believe he told them, I have got the wherewithal, I've got the capacity to ensure that Kenyans will consume the GMO. I'm sure that today, America is piling pressure. They're asking William Ruto, what is happening? Because as we speak today, the GMO case is in court. And we are wondering how the court is going to judge. Because even if they say that GMO is good and we start consuming it, there is what we call, and it is entrenched in the constitution, public participation. From where I sit, I want to believe that maybe GMO is not all that bad. All that we need to understand, we've got professors in our countries. They should come up, we should include all the stakeholders to look into the pros and cons. What are the advantages and the disadvantages of the GMO, so that even as it is introduced, because I understand there are several countries that are consuming GMO, we only need to understand what is bad about it, what are the disadvantages, what are the side effects, so that even when Kenyans decide to consume GMO, they know exactly what they're doing. Because I understand that in some countries there are laws that require them to label that this is GMO and this is organic material, so that even as you go to the supermarket and you want to buy, you know what you are consuming, so that you don't do it blindly. If that happens, I think Kenyans will allow it. But the manner in which William Ruto was trying to do it, he was trying to, just come up with it, force people to start consuming it without even looking at what is the amount that our Kenyan market can produce and what is the deficit that we can now import. He didn't look into that. So this is something that is really giving him trouble with the West, and they are very hungry. They are very angry, and they are now asking William Ruto why he cannot implement this. And very soon, it is going to backfire. Number two is the recent LGBTQ, the same-sex marriage, gay, an affair between man and man, and lesbianism, an affair between a lady and a lady, something that our culture does not accept as per now. Again, this is not the first time that the USA is trying to force Kenya to accept LGBTQ into the constitution. But our former president Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta stood firm and told off the Western nations that we cannot emulate this culture because we have our own culture, and Kenyans have pronounced themselves that they are not ready for it. But recently, you saw Jill Bidden, the first lady, the US first lady, came to Kenya, and she gave William Ruto 16 billion Kenyan shillings. This was a deal so sweet that William Ruto could not reject it. And so what did they do? They tried to bring it through the judiciary. We all know that under the Kenyan constitution, LGBTQ is outlawed, it is not allowed. But then there was a lot of doublespeak and controversy when the Koome-led judges decided that the LGBTQ have got a right of association and that they can register themselves under the non-governmental organization. Now, William Ruto once said that we have a shortage of fools in the country, and rightly so. We are all watching, and we can see that this is just an attempt to bring in the rights of the LGBTQ, to bring in this one so that the USA can feel that William Ruto is doing something. But this is a fiasco because the clergy, the ordinary mwananchi, everyone has ganged up and they have rejected this ruling. In fact, wherever Koome is, I believe she's hiding her face because Kenyans can't accept this and they have refused. In fact, it forced President William Ruto yesterday to say that this cannot happen under his watch. Now, you all understand that the ruling has been made. So whatever is being spoken in rallies are just words. In fact, they are hot air. The ruling has been made, and very soon you will see the LGBTQ fraternity working together, demonstrating, because they have been given the green light to that they have the freedom of association. This is pitting William Ruto against the USA because he came up and said that he's not going to accept it. At the same time, he has taken the 16 billion shillings, and I believe this was to try and persuade him to accept the LGBTQ. How William Ruto is going to approach this is something that we must watch very closely, because no one is going to allow him. Yet there is a lot of pressure that is being piled by the international community to accept the GMO. So he's in a dilemma. He doesn't know what to do. On one side there's the clergy, on the other side the international community. Number three was the lifting of the subsidies that Uhuru Kenyatta had initiated. After the corona pandemic, Uhuru Kenyatta was acting on an NIS intelligence because there was a lot of hunger, youths had lost their jobs. So the former president decided that he gives subsidies on several commodities. That was unga, fuel, even on school fees, to try and cushion the tough times that Kenyans were going through. But the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, had given William Ruto a condition that he must abandon all the subsidies. And this is exactly what William Ruto has done. Now, while doing this, he had also promised the hustler nation that immediately he places the Bible down, he was going to bring down the cost of living. Now, how was he going to bring down the cost of living when all the subsidies that were supposed to help bring the cost of living down had been abandoned? So he was between, was he going to please the hustler nation or he was going to please the international community? He decided to please the international community. Why? Because he knows very well that if he goes against them, then he's going to lose out on the loans that is being given, because the IMF had given this as a condition before they gave William Ruto some loans. He knows very well that the Hustler Nation is very gullible. He will come back and deceive them, and they will still maybe vote for him. But for the international community, you cannot deceive them. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the reason I'm telling you that our president is between a rock and a hard place. Everything that he signed was only to please the West, but was going against the promises that he had given to Kenya. So even as we speak, he is at pains to explain why we have not started consuming the GMO. He is at pains to explain why he's trying to make a U-turn on the LGBTQ. And from where I sit, our president is really cornered. I don't know how he's going to disentangle himself from the situation where he himself got into. I don't know what to think, but this is my take.